Okay. Is there anyone who can't see my screen? Okay, so as you guys are waiting for your servers to come up, just gonna put the link again to the schedule in the chat. And so I've updated the schedule for today. As I mentioned in the morning, if you guys have any questions from yesterday, we'll start answering any questions and then give you guys time to start modifying your FastQ accounts in DGE Jupyter notebooks. And then we'll take our break at 9:30. And then after the break, if you guys still want some more time to continue editing, I'll allow you to do that. And then by 10:10 though, I'll show you where to copy all of your modified Jupyter notebooks to, if those are the ones that you want to use when you teach it at your home institution. And then we're going to go over how to sign up for resources for when you guys are ready to teach this material. And then going over how to get started once all of your students have accounts on SMCE. And then that'll bring us into lunch. And then after lunch, I'm going to give you guys some time about, oh, that's way too long. We won't need that much time. We'll be able to start. I'm going to change this. So we'll take the post bootcamp survey. I meant to give you 40 minutes. It looked like I gave you an hour and 10, 30 extra minutes. So I'll break that up. So we'll do an hour and 10 or 40 minutes for the post bootcamp survey. There is quite a few questions there. There's about 50 questions, similar to the pre-bootcamp survey, just a bit more detailed. And it's really just feedback for us, so that way we can improve this moving forward. And then we also use that to try to get funding to continue to host these things. So super important for all of you guys to take and complete the post bootcamp survey. And there's also some questions in there for how you're planning to teach it at your home institution, just so that way we can prepare and get additional funding for resources if needed on our side. And then if you guys are okay with it, we're going to have our break, our afternoon break, a little bit early at 1:10 to 1:30. Is there anyone who had something scheduled at 1:30 Pacific time? And the reason for that is because per Elva's question yesterday about MATLAB and Python, we asked Sylvan if he would be available to give you guys, to talk to you guys about MATLAB, answer any questions you have about that, and talk about the differences between MATLAB and Python. So he's going to be available at 1:30, which is why we're going to have our break a little early. And so we'll actually, this is good then, I'm not sure if Mike's joined or not yet, but so I'll move the install Conda Jupyter and R locally to before the break. So before the break, we will work on installing all of these things locally. Just a heads up, this might run smoothly for you guys. You might also run into issues that could require individual attention to help troubleshoot. And so if that's the case, we may just have you follow along with us, and then we can always schedule additional times outside of the boot camp to help you work through any troubleshooting that might come across as you guys try to install things on your local computers. And then once everything's installed, I'm going to go through running the DGE script in RStudio, because we're going to set you guys up with an environment where you can run our scripts in RStudio, and then also how you can run the DGE Jupyter Notebook and also the intro Jupyter Notebooks locally, since with those 3 notebooks, you can run all those on your local computer. So I'll go through quickly how to do that, and then we will wrap up with any final questions and comments. And then Chief has prepared an original song for GeneLab, which I'm super excited to hear. And so we're going to end with Chief's musical performance at the end of the day today. And I've actually invited all of GeneLab to join at 2:45 to hear that, Chief. So super excited about it. But yeah, so the only thing I'm going to change right now is the install Conda Jupyter. We're going to do that before the break, right after you guys take the survey. Great. So you guys should all still have in your home directories the versions of the Jupyter notebooks that you guys started modifying yesterday. And so I want to give you the opportunity to continue doing that. Again, if you still want to add more things to your Unix or your R intro notebooks that you didn't finish yesterday, go ahead, open them. Everything that you did have in there from yesterday should be saved. And then just a reminder that before you transition into a new notebook, to save your changes, just make sure you press the little save icon to make sure that everything that you changed is going to still be there. And then once you guys finish modifying your Unix and R Intro Jupyter notebooks, feel free to get going on the FastQt Accounts Jupyter notebook. Again, just run through it again. If there's any additional information that you want to add for your students or any additional code blocks that you want to add for them to run to help with their understanding, please do so. If you have any questions about how to add things, let me know. All the TAs will be online. We also have breakout rooms to set up. So if you guys have any questions as you're going through this, just unmute your mic and shout at us or put a message in the chat. And then I also wanted to know, when you get into the DGE Jupyter notebook, if you choose to do the one with LRT, I'm just gonna open that one up real quick and show you the areas that are different there. So at the end of step 2D, oh, I saw hyperlink in there. Interesting. That's weird. Okay. At the end of step 2D, in this one, I added this section here for DE-seq likelihood ratio test. I'm sure why there's added one additional step. That's good. And so I just have a little note here that you can run the following code block to run the DE-seq2 likelihood ratio test on our data. And so whereas when Lauren went through this with you, she split up DE-seq2 into the 3 processes that it runs. So it runs first to estimate size factors to do the normalization, and then estimate dispersion to normalize based on dispersion, and then it does the wall test here, so the pairwise wall test. So that's the standard to run for DE-seq2. So instead of running each one of those steps individually, you could actually also just run DE-seq, and then it would be this. So to run all 3 of those steps at once, you could just run this command. We separated them out so you can see the outputs and what each one of them look like at each step. But if you want to run all of them at once, you could write something as simple as this, and it'll run all 3. It'll assume that you want to do the wall test. And so if you want to do the likelihood ratio test, we just change the test to likelihood ratio. And then this reduced one, I think this is, here, do you remember what the reduced has to do with? I just looked it up yesterday and then I forgot right now. Having a blank here. It's in the DE-seq2 documentation to add that. But yeah, so this is the command that you would run to run the likelihood ratio test, again on the same data, the same DE-seq dataset object that we have stored in DDS1 at this point. And then this time I'm just saving it to a new variable, DDS1 underscore LRT, to tell me it's the LRT test. And then to get the results of that LRT, which is a p-value that's similar to like running an ANOVA test. And so I save those results in another variable called res1 LRT, and I pull those results from DE-seq2 with the results of the output of DE-seq with the LRT, which is saved in that variable, DDS1 LRT. So there's that difference. And then I pull that into our DGE output table in step 3A. So if you scroll down to 3A, you'll remember running this code block with Lauren, where we iterate through the wall tests for all the pairwise comparisons that were done for us. It was flight versus ground control versus flight. We calculate the all mean and all standard deviation. And then after those challenge questions, I added in here a line to add to the DGE output table a column labeled LRT p-value, and that is going to be the results of the likelihood ratio test that I added up above. and specifically getting the adjusted p-value there. So that's what that line is. So those are the only two things that were added. So the biggest difference with this too is this now adds an additional column to that DGE output table. So if this is the version that you want to run with your students, just to note that in terms of the number of columns that have been added, it would be one additional column besides what Lauren went over. So if you guys have questions about that, feel free to unmute your mic and ask away. Any questions about anything I just went over before I give you guys time to go ahead and modify these? Okay. If questions do come up as you're modifying, just like I said, unmute your mic, go ahead and ask, put it in the chat, and we'll help you with any of the modifications that you want. And yeah, have at it, guys. I'll give you till 9:30. If you do finish modifying all of your Jupyter notebooks and are satisfied with how they are and they are how you want to teach them, you can also let me know, because if everyone is like ready to go, done modifying their Jupyter notebook, then we'll move on in the schedule sooner rather than later. So once you guys are done modifying, like I said, I reserved up until about 20 minutes after the morning break to do this. But if all of you guys are done sooner than that, then we can move on earlier. Okay, have fun playing around your Jupyter notebooks. And again, just reach out, unmute your mic or put a message in the chat if there's anything we can help with, or if there's anything you want us to explain again.